Hey everyone, welcome to SEJ Marketing Think Tank. My name is Kelsey Jones. I'm the executive editor at Search Engine Journal, and I'm joined here today with Erin Sagan. She's a PPC evangelist and community manager at Wordstream. So, hi Erin, how are you?
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I'm excited. So today Erin's going to talk about 5 super simple ways to dominate PPC keyword research. I'm going to be moderating today, like I said. I'm going to let Erin do a quick introduction of herself, and then I'm going to jump into some really quick housekeeping before we get started.
All right, perfect. Well, like Kelsey said, my name is Erin Sagan. I am a PPC evangelist and community manager here at Wordstream. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of Wordstream before. If you haven't, we are a software company based in Boston. We help people manage their digital marketing online. So be that AdWords, Bing ads, and even now Facebook. And I am a self-proclaimed Twitter addict. I check my tweets nonstop. I've gotten like my phone banned from the bedroom because my boyfriend gets so mad because I check them in the middle of the night. So if you guys have questions or comments on anything I talk about in the webinar today, please don't hesitate to tweet at me. I promise you I will answer probably before you even expect it. And I love chatting with people via Twitter.
Awesome. Good to know. So, just really quick rules before Erin continues. So if you have any questions for Erin throughout the webinar, you can ask them in the question box in GoToWebinar, and then Danielle, our lovely features editor and webinar manager, is going to be sending those to me so I can ask Erin at the end of the presentation. We also love live tweeting with you guys. The hashtag is SEJ Think Tank. So we really like being active. So if you have questions there as well or want to share info, we'd love to hear it. We're going to be asking a couple poll questions throughout the webinar, so you'll get to participate and we'll look through the answers. And then, like I said, we're going to have the Q&A at the end, so feel free to ask questions whenever you think of them. Anytime Erin's going to ask or give any resources, we're going to give those in the chat box as well. So if she says a tool she really likes, Danielle will put the URL to the chat box in the chat box. I can't talk today. And then finally, this webinar is going to be recorded and we're going to put it on YouTube. The link to that will be sent to you through email. We also will have the slides. They're going to be made available on Search Engine Journal's SlideShare account, and that will also be included in the recap post that will go on Search Engine Journal either tomorrow or Friday. So without any further delay, Erin, let's talk about PPC.
Let's talk about PPC. Sounds good to me.
So
Oh, I did not mean to rhyme there.
I didn't even realize it. So I think we want to start off with a poll. So let me launch that right now. So here we go. So the question is, what's your current role? And you can choose. I work in an agency running PPC for various clients. I'm an in-house PPC specialist. I run various marketing practices in-house, or I'm a business owner who runs his or her own digital marketing. So if you guys could just answer, we'll wait a couple more minutes. We have about 70% of your votes in, so that's awesome. Let's just wait a couple more seconds so you guys can get your votes in.
Perfect.
All
Yeah,
right,
this is really helpful, and I'll try and cater some of what I talk about if I see a really strong divide any particular direction.
awesome. All right, we got almost 85%, so that's awesome. I'm going to close it now and then share the results. So it looks like I work in an agency running PPC for various clients is the top answer, which I think I would have guessed that. And then next, a business owner who runs his or her own marketing. So either way, I know Erin's going to have some great info for you guys. Is this in line with what you were expecting?
Yeah, this is in line with what I was expecting, and I think I like am impressed by you guys because I know both of those groups are very busy people, and it's hard to find time to attend stuff like this. And I think it's cool that you guys find the time to show up and learn more about what other people are doing because I think that outside perspective is really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, you want to get started with the rest of your presentation? Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Just hide my webcam so I'm not looking at myself the whole time. All right. So one thing that, be it you are working at an agency in accounts nonstop, or on the opposite side where you're a small business owner kind of trying to find the time to manage your account, I think one thing holds true for every single person who's managing a PPC account, and that's the unfortunate case that your quest for new keywords is never ending. And so regardless of what level you are, how long you've been doing this, you are always going to be searching for new keywords. And the reality is, and one of the reasons why this is so important, is Google tells us that 15% of search queries have never been searched for before. So no matter how good you are at this, there are always new terms that you should be adding to your account. And this makes perfect sense. There's all sorts of trends in our language that have caused us to search differently. We see a huge influx in voice search from various devices, and this is something that we predict we will see a ton more in the future, and that changes the way that people are searching for keywords. So you're kind of in this constant quest for new keywords, and it's tough because you're expected to be a mind reader in some ways. Like if 15% of search queries are brand new things that nobody has ever searched before, how the heck are you supposed to know what these people are looking for? And I think that's especially hard for people who are working solely in one account, because you're tapped out. You've thought of every single thing, or so you think, that people could be looking for related to your business. So it's tough to get outside of your bubble and think, what the heck else are people looking for that I need to be bidding on? Well, the reality is you don't have to be this crazy, creative, mind-reading type to figure out these new keywords. There's a lot of strategies out there and tools out there that you can use to supplement your creativity. So while it's always great to kind of start by doing those brainstorms, and it's helpful to know your business inside and out, or the business that you're advertising for inside and out, but there are tools to kind of help you along the way, to cheat along the way. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So first things first, I want to point out the best way to find some of this information is looking at kind of that trail of breadcrumbs that prospects are leaving for you. They are leaving tons of hints around the internet. And if you can just do a little detective work, you can likely figure out what type of terms they're going to be searching. And again, we're going to get into a bunch of tools to help you do that. So without further ado, these are my top 5 keyword research tips that should work for every single one of you on the call today. First things first, using Google Analytics site search. This is something that we actually don't do here at Wordstream, and we've been kicking ourselves for it, and we are in the process of adding a site search to our own website just so we can do this, because we've seen how powerful it's been for so many of our clients. So if you have site search on your site, it gives you this incredible insight into what people are looking for when they land on your site. So this is an example from Reformation, this ridiculously expensive clothing line that all the celebrities are wearing that I'm obsessed with and do searches on a regular basis. And they have a site search functionality. And if you have a similar site search functionality like you're seeing here, you should track what people are doing with it. If you don't add that tracking, you're missing out on like a huge, huge gold mine of data. This is good for finding new keywords, right? It's giving you a sense for how people are looking for your shirts or your products. So for example, in this ad, they're advertising an off-the-shoulder shirt. There are so many ways that people are searching for these bare shoulder shirts, and they're never going to understand all of these different keyword variations that their actual clients, people who have actually come to their site, are looking for. So by adding this tracking, they can find all sorts of new keywords related to their products. What they also might find is people who are looking for something that they don't offer. meaning you can add these terms as negatives to ensure that these people aren't coming to your site. Or you could add these products to your product line. If you're seeing that tons and tons of people are coming to your website looking for spaghetti strap tank tops, and you don't offer spaghetti strap tank tops, well, now I think you know exactly what you want to offer. It's a really simple way to really understand your existing client base or prospect base's demand. And then finally, this is helpful in terms of figuring out where you want to send people with your landing pages. If you're bringing people to your site through paid search, they're getting there and the landing page doesn't suffice. It doesn't offer what they're looking for, and then they have to go to site search to see something else. Then that's a huge sign that you need to rejigger your ads and adjust your URLs. So there's a ton of information. We love it for finding new keywords, but there's just a ton of information that you can reap from understanding what's happening in your site search. So how the heck do you do this? Like, what is the magic behind figuring out what people are looking at? It's actually pretty simple. So it's all about using Google Analytics. As you can see, there's actually a view for Google Value Tracking. Just head to that, view the settings, turn on site search tracking, and set the query parameters. And that's going to help you create these really robust reports. And I apologize, like I said, Wordstream is not using this right now. We are hoping to use this in the future. This is something that we've been using for our clients. So you can see this is one of our clients' accounts, and this is the information we're reaping from it. So we're really understanding exactly what this person is, or what this person's prospect base is looking for when they get to their website. All right, keyword research tip number 2, get your spy on. I hear so many people, or I've talked to so many clients who are hesitant to do this. They're like, oh, I love my competitors. We have a nice gentleman's agreement, and we would never spy on one another. Well, they're probably spying on you. And one of the best ways to really be competitive in this market is to engage in a little bit of this good-natured spying. So there's definitely nothing wrong with doing it, and it can be super helpful. So how do you do it? Oops. Leverage the keyword planner. I know that sometimes people are like, Google's keyword planner, like everybody's using it, why bother? Cool thing about the keyword planner is it doesn't just spit out the same results for everybody. If you use it in a savvy way, you can kind of reap more value out of it. So use the keyword planner to spy on other people. And here's how you can do that. As you can see, in the keyword planner, it gives you the option to put in your landing page. The idea behind this tool is it's going to scrape your landing page to understand the terms within the landing page and recommend those terms as keywords. Pretty simple, makes sense. The reality is it's not that useful because you probably already have set the terms that are on your landing pages as keywords. But the cool thing you can do with this is to actually input your competitor's URL rather than your own. So instead of plugging in your landing page, just plug in your competitor's landing page in that landing page segment. That really puts another angle on this tool, and it helps you to understand, okay, what terms is my competitor likely to be bidding on based on the information on their site? If those terms are good terms for me and I'm not bidding on them, that's exactly what you need to add to your account. So this is a nice, very easy, completely free way to kind of do some sneaky spying on your competitors. And it's just right there. Plug in the landing page. You can also check out third-party tools. There's a ton of third-party tools that can help you do this. Our favorite on the managed service team at Wordstream is SEMrush. We've partnered with them on a few things, and they have a pretty robust competitor insight analysis tool. So you can literally dive in and understand what terms your competitors are using, likely what the CPCs are for those terms. You can add those terms and set them at competitive values. So this is a really cool tool. I think they have a free trial online that you can test out, but it's a good way to identify some of what your keyword or some of the keywords that your competitors are likely to be bidding on. And that brings me to number 3, which is to stay up to date with trends. So you marketers are probably well aware of Google Trends. This is like a total playground for us. I have a habit of getting lost in this tool all day. It's actually like dangerous. Like I literally have to put segments on my calendar to cut myself off from Google Trends because I just like fell into the depths of it because there's so much juicy information that you can find on here, and it gives you really interesting insights into what people are looking at in the internet and how people are using Google. The most interesting one that I've seen recently, it was in a blog post that Wordstream published today. We're seeing an uptick in people searching emojis instead of words. That's, I mean, to me, that's totally, totally fascinating. It could totally turn the way that we're using paid search, the types of keywords we're using. It'll be interesting to see, like, can you imagine the day where you're uploading like taco emojis into your AdWords account? Because that could happen. Anyway, we see this happening. We know this could come into play in some day because of Google Trends. Google Trends shows us what people are looking for and any influxes in those searches. So I haven't sold you on Google Trends, and if you don't block off the rest of your afternoon to play in it, then you're crazy. So here's how you can use it to actually be helpful with paid search. Find top searches related to your key terms. So it's like super stupid user-friendly. All you have to do is plug in some of your main terms, and Google Trends will spit out topics and queries related to those particular terms, along with volume. And you can see that volume in a couple of different ways. I'll talk about that in a little bit. You can also see the rising terms. Now, the rising terms are like the really cool thing here because it's likely that you've already thought of the top terms and you're already bidding on them, but rising, those are the ones you want to make sure that you're tapping into. Those are the ones that, because they haven't necessarily been popular in the past and they're on the uptick, are a really, really kind of interesting way to get a leg up on competitors, get ready for those brand new searches that people haven't been thinking of yet. So look at the rising terms and then think of things that are related to the rising terms too, because those are likely to come up in the future. One really great way to use Google Trends, or like a really great insight you can get out of it, is information about regional dialects, because this should impact your keyword selection. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this New York Times quiz, how y'all use and you guys talk. I am from Western Maryland, which is like the heart of Appalachia. I, as a child, said y'all more than I said probably any other word. I'm 2 hours from Pittsburgh, where people say yous when they are addressing a big group of people. And yins, oh, yins is bad. And my parents are from Philadelphia, so they like don't understand any of these terms and stick with you guys at all times. This is all within like a 4-hour radius. And people are using all these different terms that to somebody from the outside, it's like, you know, my parents came from Philadelphia, they get to Maryland and they're like, what the heck are people talking about? This is not the dialect that we use. When it comes to searches, people are searching in the dialects that they talk. And if there are any differences between the regions that you're addressing, you definitely need to pick up those with your keyword selection. Another example, I mean, I live in Boston. You have no idea how hard it was to figure out what people were saying when I got here. So if you're advertising in Boston and Maryland, you really have to think about this. This does impact your keyword selection. So here's an example of that very instance. So understanding these geo-specific language variations. So I did a search for flat iron. We have a client who sells hair products. And to many people, you know, flat iron is what we use to straighten our hair. And as you can see in the American South, this is the most common term that people are using. So we can expect search volume to be very high for this term in that particular region. But it's a little bit different in some of these other regions that favor the term hair straightener. Now imagine that you live in Mississippi and you use the word flat iron and you never think to bid on hair straightener, but you're advertising to the whole US. How many people are you going to miss out on? How many really, really relevant ideal searchers are you going to miss out on because you're not identifying this? So using Google Trends, looking at this breakdown, understanding regional differences can be huge for you. Especially if you work internationally, this really comes into play. You know, Australia, the UK, South Africa, Canada, we all speak English, but we all speak English really, really differently. And if you're not taking care of that, if you're not mindful of that as you set your keywords, you can really be sending yourself back. So play around with this tool. I promise you will like it. All right, that brings me to number 4, which is tap into your search query reports. This is Wordstream's favorite thing to talk about, and search query reports are the #1 source of hidden gemstones for your keyword research. This is like the most valuable place you can look. And here's why. Your search queries are based on real searches. This is what actual human beings are sitting down at their computer and typing in when they are connected to your keyword and shown your ads. Far too many people have this misconception that they're matching directly to things that are their keywords. Oftentimes, especially if you're using a lot of broad or modified broad match types, what people are searching for is very different than what they're connecting to for your keyword. This is a good thing and a bad thing, you see, because in some ways, you're going to see that there are all these keywords that you never thought to add that are great fits for your account that you absolutely want to include in your account. Maybe there are terms that you've never thought to add because they're longer tail terms. Well, if you see that there's search volume for them, and even better, if the people coming are converting, good Lord, add those to your account. You want to be bidding on them. And you want to be setting specific bids for those particular terms. They're highly valuable to you. What you might also see when you look in here is less exciting. It might be things you want to set as negatives, and that's also really important. And I'll go through a couple examples in a minute. So here's the first one. I have a client who sells birthday cakes, and she was bidding on like every term related to birthday cakes in her mind, right? Things like vanilla birthday cakes, chocolate birthday cakes, girls' birthday cakes, boys' birthday cakes, old people birthday, you know, whatever. She had everything that she thought she was selling. Felt like she had covered all the bases, gets into her search query report and sees that there's huge volume for Angry Bird birthday cakes. Now, she never would have guessed that. She hadn't been connecting with a lot of these people, but the volume was there, and she could certainly make Angry Bird birthday cakes. She had done it before. So this was a great way to find those long tail terms, bid on them. There was tons of conversions coming in for those particular terms, and this was her opportunity to find it, add it to her account, and create ads specific to Angry Bird birthday cakes. But without looking in her search query report, she never would have found this information. Another example is new ad group and product ideas. You know, she could be bidding on cakes, but what if she wasn't bidding on cupcake related terms? And indeed, there was a lot of people searching for cupcakes. And maybe she was connecting to these people already, but showing them ads related to cakes. So they were not clicking and of course not converting because they weren't making it to her landing pages because they were under the assumption that she didn't offer cupcakes, only, you know, fancy wedding cakes or birthday cakes. So through her search query report, she recognized this uptick in searches related to cupcakes, was able to create that new ad group and roll with it. This is a very simplistic example, right? And I picked this example because I think it's really easy to relate to. But I'm sure as you guys look into your accounts and look at your search query reports for your particular business, you'll start to see there are all these new ideas that you just haven't come up with that are kind of ripe for the picking. And then finally, this one's painful. You will definitely find terms in your search query report that you never want to show up for again. And that particular client who I've been working with, who ran a bakery, she had, again, all these cake-related terms set on broad and modified broad match. And she lives in Baltimore. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Baltimore, but by far, if you're ever in Baltimore, the one thing you need to do is go to the Crab Festival. Baltimore is known for its blue crabs. They're absolutely incredible. They douse them with Old Bay. You will never want to eat any other seafood again when you've had a Baltimore crab. Unfortunately for her, tons of people came to this crab festival. And what do you think these people were doing at the crab festival? They were grabbing their cell phone and they were searching for crab cakes. And what do you think crab cakes connected with? Her cake-related broad match terms. So in one weekend, she blew through her entire budget because she was showing up for crab cakes. And she had no idea why. She saw this huge influx in impressions, and she was racking her brain, being like, what did I do wrong this weekend? Well, the reality was she just didn't think to set the word crab as a negative. And when we looked at her search query report, it became apparent exactly what had happened. So unfortunately, this is a reactive measure to set negatives. But if you're getting them regularly, catching these things quickly, you can use this as a great way to stop that bad traffic from coming to your account. Another one, if you guys are running DSA campaigns, for those of you who aren't familiar with them, are dynamic search ads. They're actually pretty cool. It's a way to kind of hand the reins over to Google, give up control of that campaign. They will analyze your website and create these automatic ads that will show for you to searchers that they deem a good fit for you. Depending on the client, they can be great. For some clients, they might not be so great. You definitely are relinquishing a lot of control to Google. And you have to have a fairly well built out website to use these, because of course, if your website doesn't have a lot of data on it, Google's not going to have anything to play with, and you're just going to show for a bunch of crap. So that said, if you are running DSA campaigns, you can actually see the search query information for these DSA campaigns. And this is really interesting because, again, it's not like you're telling Google when to show your ads. They're deciding when to show your ads. So they're doing their own analysis and their own kind of fielding of information to determine when to show your ads. See what they're showing them for. There might be things that you've never thought of that Google's been showing, triggering your ads for, particular queries that you definitely want to add to your account. Maybe they're crazy, crazy converters. Add them to your account. That's huge. Okay, yeah, and I was just saying, with those DSAs, I think a lot of people don't realize you can see those search query reports because they're not exactly where you would expect to see them. So this is just a quick AdWords view, so you can see exactly where you would be going. Of course, the Auto Targets tab, and you want to look under the search terms drop down here, and you can see that full search query report to dive through. And then finally, shopping campaigns. They yield query reports too. Again, these are interesting because you don't think of them as like normal campaigns where you jump in and look at a search query report, but Google does produce those for you. Dive in, look at those. Shopping, of course, this is only for e-commerce advertisers. On Google and Bing, they're a little broader, which is nice. They're a little more relaxed with whom they allow to do shopping campaigns, but this is another really good way just to identify keywords that you're not bidding on that are yielding great results. And here at Wordstream, we actually have this tool called the query stream. It is like my favorite thing to look at because it takes all of that search query information that Google is tracking, but you can add some filters. So you can exclude keywords in your account. You can exclude queries where you've set the negative so they're never going to show up again anyway. then you can take this report and start to manipulate it, right? You can look at it by cost and see exactly which of these queries are costing you tons of money. And those are definitely the ones that if you're not a good fit for, you want to add as negative, like immediately. Also, you can look for terms that are yielding tons of conversions that you're not bidding on. Of course you want to add those to your account. You want to reap even more out of them. This tool is cool because it's kind of like that search query report that you get through AdWords on steroids. You can do a lot with it. It's easy to navigate, and more importantly, you can take direct action. So you can literally scroll over a term and set it as a negative, or create a new ad group directly from a term, rather than having to like go back, add it, or God forbid, I still see people who write it down on a piece of paper and then add it. You can do all of that just directly from this report. And that takes me to my fifth and final point, which is rip off your shopping feed. So again, if you're running shopping campaigns, take that information. You put so much work into it, right? If you are an e-commerce advertiser, you are putting tons of work into making these pretty little pictures show up when people look for things related to you. Don't just use it for shopping. See how you can make it work for you for search. So take that feed that you have painstakingly put together and are constantly updating. This is like your kind of golden document of all the information that you sell. It's chock full of product terms, but it's your product terms. It's your specific terms that you use to describe these products. So pull the information from here and pop it into, again, we go back, the keyword planner. Guys, don't discount the keyword planner. Google is that. Google's pretty smart, and they're pretty good at helping you find keywords, and it's free. So, don't avoid it just because other people are using it. Like I said, it has great information if you're using it in a savvy manner, and this is a great way to use it. Take that information from your shopping feed, plug it into the keyword planner, and let it spit out related terms to those particular terms that you're already probably bidding on in your account. It's a great way to start to expand your list. Think of different ways that people might be looking for terms that you're already advertising for. So you can really start to kind of broaden your sphere and ensure that you're showing up. God forbid if somebody searches you in any different variation, you want to be sure that your ad shows up for a product that they're searching for that you offer. Also, I just want to quickly point out, when you're using the planner, don't forget to take advantage of things like these targeting settings down here. These are awesome. This is the way to find out exactly what's going to work for you in a particular target region, and understand exactly what kind of volume it might yield, the cost might be associated with it. So take the time to actually use the whole suite of information, fill out all of this, and that's going to help you yield the best results from AdWords. And like you can see, I have plugged in just a couple product terms that were in a product feed here. And as you can see, it spits out tons of information, which you can very easily, literally add to your account. So this is a super quick, super easy way to just riff off those shopping reports and get a little bit more out of them. All right, so I'm going to turn things over to Kelsey to finish us up with a poll, because we love doing webinars either through Wordstream with our partners and with Search Engine Journal, which has been really fun. So if there are things that you guys would like to learn about next, last time we heard keyword research tips, we brought you them. If there's something else that you guys are interested in, please go ahead. Kelsey will run the poll, but you can also submit it in the questions box and I'll have them pass it along to us.
Yay, thanks, Erin. Okay, I'm going to launch the poll and I'll go through. So what do you guys want to learn about next? More keyword research tips like Erin just ran through, mobile advertising, CRO, and landing page tips, which CRO stands for conversion rate optimization, right? Erin?
Yeah, conversion rate optimization.
Okay, so many acronyms. And then the last one is social media advertising. So And while you guys are voting, just a reminder too, Erin will be taking questions. And so if you want to ask your questions in the question box on GoToWebinar, Danielle's going to send those to me to ask her. So any questions about PPC, keyword research, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, any PPC questions, again, happy to do.
All right, I'll wait just a couple more seconds. Okay, I'm going to close it. Wow, so it looks like CRO and landing page tips would be the next thing, which I don't think SEJ Think Tank has ever done a webinar on, so that would be awesome to see.
All right, I guess we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, awesome. Okay,
Awesome.
so I'm gonna hide this and go back to your slide. All right. So now we're going to do Q&A, and before we get started, I just want to tell you about the next webinar. It's actually one I'm going to be doing on content marketing, so thinking outside of the text box. So ways to increase your content. So just because you write and publish a blog post, it doesn't mean that it's over. There's a lot of other things you can do with it. So I will be talking about that. Lauren Baker, SCJ founder, will be moderating. It'll be July 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I hope to see you guys there. So let's get started. Aaron, Bonnie asked, I heard that Google had eliminated all the different match types. I haven't seen modified broad as an option for months, but I heard that there is now one match type. There's not really a question, it's more of a comment. Is that true?
No, so you can still set varying match types in AdWords. I think what you might be referring to is Google's shift to close variants, which happened a little while back, a couple of years ago, where Google basically said for all of the keywords that you've added to your account, they're applying close variant matching. So if there are, singular or plural variations of a term or things that are very closely related to your particular term, you'll still show up for those. So PPC people, we tend to get in a tizzy about every change that Google makes. So a lot of people were like, oh, this is the death of the match type. But it isn't the death of the match type. So I'll cover like what there still is. Broad match, of course, means that any of the terms within your keyword phrase could trigger your ad to show if they match the query. So if you bid on chocolate birthday cakes, and someone does a search for birthday cards, your ad could show simply because birthday and birthday connect. Modified broad exists, but Google's kind of sneaky about how it works. So it's not a direct match type setting that you can set, but if you add a little teeny tiny plus sign in front of every word within your keyword, it will then act as modified broad. Modified broad is my favorite match type to get started with because it's safe, but not too safe. So with modified broad, adding that little plus sign indicates to Google that you're using broad match, but it will only show if every single word with a plus sign in front of it exists within the user's query. So that means if you bid on chocolate birthday cakes on modified broad match, your ad would still show if somebody searched birthday cakes that are chocolate, because birthday, cakes, and chocolate all appear within the search query. Phrase is exactly what you think it is. Again, it's like your phrase has to be intact within the user search query. So if you set chocolate birthday cakes to phrase, your ad would only be triggered to show if somebody searches a phrase that includes chocolate birthday cakes. So where can I buy chocolate birthday cakes? But if chocolate birthday and cakes were in any other order, not going to show. And then exact is like, this is obvious, chocolate birthday cakes. If you set it on exact match, your ad will only show if somebody does a search for chocolate birthday cakes. Nothing more, nothing less. So not to go too far into this question, but one thing I should point out, using match types as keyword research tools can be really helpful, because if you set something on broad match, really low bid, just to see what kind of search volume is associated with it and what kind of queries are associated with it. Then you can hop into that search query report, find tons of long-tailed keywords at a very low cost. So it's like a cheapo way to get lots of information on what people are looking for.
Awesome. Yeah, I had no idea. I've done a little bit of PPC, but not for a while. And so I didn't know about the plus sign in front of
It
keyword.
changes so much.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a full-time job just keeping up with paid search.
Yeah, I know for sure. That's really cool. All right. Well, Bonnie, I hope that helped you. Next, Azra is asking, and Azra, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. When you add DSA converting search terms, do you also add them as negatives to the same DSA campaign?
So that's a little complex. It's very dependent on how your account is set up and how you want to advertise it. Some really savvy advertisers, which it sounds like you are very careful about how they funnel their traffic. So they kind of decide how, like, the path that they want people to go, and can use negatives to say, okay, I want to show up when somebody does this search, but I want them to show up in this form, you know, showing up through a particular campaign, seeing a particular ad. So it's totally dependent on how you set it up, but you certainly can do that.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Kim has a little bit of a long one. So she's asking, I've never used the keyword planner in the sense of searching a landing page, so a specific URL. When doing this for yourself or a competitor, does it show all the keywords associated with that URL? So she has 3 questions. So that's the first one. And then I'll read the other 2.
Okay. So, you know, I don't work at Google, so I might be wrong on this, but my understanding of how it works is it crawls the web page to understand the terms on it that like are likely the products that you're bidding for, and then you can see variations of those terms. But again, I'm not an engineer and I don't work for Google, so there might be a better answer to that question out there somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, we can only speculate since none of us work at Google.
I know. If
All
only
right.
they would like pass over all their information, I would love it.
I know, give
But
away a secret.
I guess they have to keep people guessing a little bit.
All right, so Kim then also asked, so does this show, so I'm guessing the results for the keyword planner, does this show the average of those exact keywords, or does it only show keywords from the URL or other good keywords?
I'm not sure what she means by that. So it'll show terms that, I mean, they're not necessarily existing keywords that you could add if you wish to add, and then it'll show average data for them based on the demographic information that you overlay on it. So that's going to kind of help you understand the average search volume, the average CPC. Yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I think what she means is it showing the exact keywords that are on the page, or is it doing that plus recommending related ones?
It should also recommend related ones, and that might be a setting that you can tweak. You'll have to play around with it, but it should also add those.
All right. And the ones that they're adding that aren't exact match to that page, is that based on search data?
It might just, I think a lot of what Google does is they basically take a term and it's almost like looking at synonyms, right? So it's kind of like tossing something into a thesaurus and saying, okay, here's the term we found. What are all the other terms that could be used for that particular word and those combinations? And then they organize it by search volume. So they're not going to just show you every crappy term from the thesaurus that's like old English that nobody is looking for anymore. They're going to show you stuff that actually does have search volume that's going to be of use to you. And like I said, it's all displayed in there. So you can make the decision. Like, one thing that I would discourage people from doing is feeling like they need to add everything into their account, like every long tail variation of a particular term, every keyword combination. What that can do is just cause a lot of clutter.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is I add stuff and then I give it about, and it's depend on the amount of volume the particular account gets, but I'll usually give it about 2 months. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it a go. Let's see if this gets volume. And, maybe I need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe I'll adjust my biz or change some settings to that particular ad group or campaign. But if something isn't getting search volume after an extended period of time, I usually end up nixing it from the account just so I don't go bananas trying to manage like gazillions of keywords with very few impressions. So that's a personal preference. It's not necessarily what you need to be doing, but it just makes my life easier. And then I'm always adding new terms. So if something works, then I stick with it. Try more things. If they work, great. If they don't, then I get rid of them.
Yeah, PPC is a lot of experimenting, I feel like.
Oh my God, so much experimenting. And it's so hard. I mean, I'm just not one of those like super math people, so I have to use all these like statistically significant calculators and stuff because running tests is so important. Figuring out when to end your test, when to try something new. So luckily, there's a lot of resources out there that help you do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Nicholas is asking, can you reiterate where the search query report is?
Yes. I think I have a picture of it in here. Let me just go back to that slide so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Come on. There you go. Okay. So within your keywords, so if you look at keywords for a particular ad group campaign, you can look for your whole account, whatever is easiest for you. In that keyword section, there's, keywords, your negative keywords, and then there's the golden ticket, search terms. So you can see here, and like I was saying, the cool thing about Wordstream's tool is it's like really, really dynamic. So you can exclude anything you don't want to see. You can take action from it. But Google has some functionality to help you out. So you can see, like, these are terms that we already are bidding on. So we don't need to add them. But then you may see, like, some of these search queries we are not yet bidding on, and those are kind of the gold mine. That's where you really want to look at the data that Google provides, and you can add whatever columns you want. I like looking at clicks, impressions, click-through rates, cost, and conversions. That's like the stuff that really helps me understand if a term is working for me, and then you can kind of add it from there by highlighting it, adding as a keyword, or more importantly, if it's a negative, like this stupid crabs, you can set those as negative keywords. And just one word of advice, don't forget that there are match types for negative keywords, so be very mindful of the match type that you use because it will dramatically impact how productive your negative keyword is.
Gotcha. Good advice. All right, we have another long one from David O. So Google...
You guys are really putting me through the ringer.
I know, I've been impressed that you've been answering them so quickly.
Let's be on this one.
What's that mean? All right. So David O's asking, Google shows sometimes that some of my search keys will not be showed because there's not enough people who search that. They recommend to remove such keywords in order to get better ranking. What would your advice be for maintaining ad spend level when switching out PPC campaigns? So pausing, inefficient campaigns and adding 8 new revamped campaigns with new keywords.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to manage that. It is tough if you want like your spend to be consistent and you're not sure about the volume that a new campaign is going to bring you. I love that you use the term pause because that's exactly what you should be doing with all of these changes and experiments. Because God knows we all make mistakes and decide to go back to something we've done before, and that gives you a really kind of easy way to jump back and re-enable something. In terms of Google kind of recommending, that you're not getting enough yield out of something and helping you decide that you need to try something new, I always take the advice that they give me with a grain of salt, and really would recommend diving in and understanding like how that campaign is performing for you, for your business, making sure that you are ready to make a change and do want to make a change. It's nice that they flag these things because it kind of helps you do your job. It helps you understand, okay, this isn't performing that well. Maybe the answer isn't to start over again. Maybe the answer is to kind of change some of the existing levers on that particular campaign or ad group to help it get more volume, or to do better with that volume. Maybe it's just boosting your bids to increase your ad rank. So there's, with PPC, it's tough to give a specific answer because unless you're working with that specific account, it's hard to say. But I would definitely recommend doing a deep dive, understanding what's going on with the campaign before taking any drastic measures.
Yeah, really good advice. Let's see. All right. Heidi is asking, do you find it valuable to look at your AdWords account via Google Analytics to see what the bounce rate is and how many pages people are viewing by keyword?
Oh yeah, analytics is amazing. The downside is it's a total pain to figure out. Um, we are very lucky here. We have a couple of people who focus specifically on that, are like analytics whizzes, and it's amazing what they can bring us from looking at these types of things. But if you have analytics hooked up and you feel comfortable looking through it, absolutely use that information. They're looking at a million pages on your website, probably an indication that you're sending them, again, to the wrong page. Your goal as an advertiser on paid search is to take that person who's doing that search and get them as close to conversion as possible. Because every time they change pages, every time you're forcing them to take action to get closer to that conversion, you risk losing them. You want this to happen quickly, you want to get them there, and you want them to convert, and you don't even want them to think otherwise. So the most you can do to kind of get them to a landing page that's truly reflective of what they're looking for. If I am looking for black suede stiletto heels, I do not want to make it to your black shoes page where I have to root through every pair of like ugly boots, black work shoes, stacked heels, wedges, winter boots. I don't want that. What
Yeah.
I want is you to bring me to a black stiletto suede heels product page where you show me, maybe you're only offering of that shoe, or maybe three different examples, and I can pick the one I want, and I want to be able to put in a shopping cart and click and purchase it like seamlessly. Because again, if you make me root through every list of shoes, rather than doing that, either I'll get bored really quickly because I have short attention span, or I'll just head right back to the SERP and look for somebody who's going to give me what I want quickly. Not to beat this with a dead horse, but we're seeing an influx in mobile searches. We are seeing more mobile searches than desktop searches. What's true about a mobile searcher? What's true about when I use my phone? I have a shorter attention span than normal. There's a lot going on my phone. There's a lot of people around me. I'm usually watching TV. I'm on the bus. I am not solely there to buy shoes. I'm buying shoes, talking to my friends, and watching a movie. So again, the more we can do as advertisers to give people exactly what they want, get it to them quickly, keep their attention in the teeny tiny attention spans that they have, the more likely we are to get conversions. So that should be your goal at all times, and analytics is very helpful to help you understand if you're getting there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're running out of time, so there's a couple more questions, but we might not get to them all. So
Tweet them.
I know we'll send them to you and then either put the answers in the recap or on Twitter is what normally we do.
That's perfect. I can also give more specific answers to people offline if they have specific questions, because I know being kind of general right now.
Awesome. All righty. All right. Kuda is asking, is there a good alternative out there for people who don't want to use Google Analytics?
I'm sure there are. I don't know anything right off the bat. All of our clients that do kind of do this deep dive use Google Analytics, but I'm happy to ask my team and see if anybody knows of another tool that's useful. I know Google, I don't know, if you're anti-Google, then this isn't going to be helpful, but if you're looking for something like super, super robust, you might, and I'm talking like if you have money to spend, you might check out the paid version of Google Analytics. In the Google Summit a couple weeks ago, they released kind of some new things happening in that realm, and it's just this super robust, really beautiful tool, like everything that Google has to offer. So if you're avoiding Google Analytics because you want something even more robust, that might be the direction to go. Again, the price tag's high, so it's like between that and buying a new car, your choice.
Well, yeah, and Google Analytics really is the best. I know there's alternatives, but honestly, they're so far behind Google Analytics. I can't even think of them off the top of my head. I know we have an article on Search
Google's
Engine.
free.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we have an article on Search Engine Journal that talks about alternatives, and I'll find it and put it in the chat. Or Danielle, maybe you can beat me to it. Alternatives to Google Analytics. Um, but I can't even think of any off the top of my head because everyone uses Google Analytics, and I know that's not answering your question, Kuda, but we want to urge you to reconsider using something else because it is really hard to learn. But they have a free training program that kind of walks you through everything, and you can get certified in Google Analytics for free. So if you just feel lost or you don't like it, I would urge you to just, once you learn more about it, it makes it a little bit easier. So,
Yeah, take it from Kelsey. She probably uses it way more than I ever do in her role. So if she says Google Analytics is the best, trust her.
thank you. All right, last question, and then any ones we didn't get to, we will send to Erin for her to answer. So Kara was asking, I think this is perfect to close out the webinar. Do you have any suggestions for best places or resources to learn basic PPC?
Oh, girl, Wordstream. I hate to toot my own horn, but Wordstream has a really robust. We actually have an app, so you can even do it while you're on the bus or watching TV. So the app has like a full training program. We have tons of training stuff online. It's called the PPC University. It is the perfect way to get up to speed on AdWords and comfortable. And then when you graduate, then you can read our blog and Search Engine Journal and all these like super crazy publications. But if you want like the basics to get started, I do recommend WordStream's PPC University. Gotta hand it to them. Google has some good information online. It's a little dry, so you have to have like the motivation to get through it, but they have all of their stuff to prep for the certification exams, so it's just like a really comprehensive set of info. PPC Hero is also a good resource. I know I read a lot from PPC Hero when I first started. Kelsey, do you have any others? You know all the publications.
Um, God, I think I want to say Online Marketing Institute has some courses, and I would assume that they'd have a PPC one. I can look it up while we're talking, but sometimes they'll have good stuff. There's a lot of free or low cost platforms where you can learn, like Lynda, Lynda. My library actually offers free memberships to that for its patrons. So it's usually a paid service monthly, but they have all kinds of courses, and I know that they have some search and probably PPC ones on there. Coursera is another one that's kind of like that. Skillshare is another platform where people create courses and then you can take them, and they're usually 20 or 30 bucks. I've had good luck with that. But I would say in terms of free
I
resources, Google for sure, Wordstream, PPC Hero again is a really good website.
I think I just remember this. We have a blog post by Mary Lister that we just published on WordStream's blog. That's like the top 6 free AdWords tutorials to check out. So that might be a good resource if you're looking for something that's totally free. She'll point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think that's
Cool.
all we have time for. So, Erin, thank you so much. Really helpful and interesting.
Yeah, this was super fun. Thank you for having me.
Well, until next time, we'll see you guys on July 13th. Bye.
All right, bye guys.